Welcome to a new exclusive Patreon video. As promised, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Tomahawk or hand axe as an offhand weapon, together with a kind of sword or cutlass or other type of main weapon. So I think the most iconic weapon where the Tomahawk is used together with is the cutlass. I'm not sure if we have any historical references about this, if it just really was used, but we see it quite often in popular culture, and when you use it in sparring, it just works quite nice. So if you are aware of any historical references, I did not dive too deep into the topic yet, but in the books about the colonial warfare in Northern America during the French and Indian War, you often have quotes about the use of tomahawks and hatchets, but you seldom find anything about a hanger or cutlass being used with a tomahawk as an offhand weapon. And I think this would be something which would be kind of rare, even in naval combat, where you use a cutlass or a hatchet, but both together. I'm not sure if it's so practical on board a ship when you maybe have to, take hold of something. Climb into the mast and everything like that, or moving on the decks. Not sure if this is really as practical to have a tomahawk as an offhand weapon together with a cutlass, but yeah, if you know any references, historical source material about the use, then yeah, please give me a note in the comment section below. So that said, even if we don't have any historical references, at least no reference I am aware of, but still these two work quite nicely together, and it's great fun to use that in sparring. It is kind of I don't know, maybe because of movies and TV shows and books and whatnot, popular culture, it is kind of the commonly thought, people think it is kind of a pirate combination, having a cutlass and a tomahawk or boarding hatchet and going into a fight. And yeah, it, kind of feels cool and looks cool, especially on the screen. Okay, let's start. So what is important first is the guards. So personally, I think the best guard is to have the cutlass in an outside guard and the tomahawk just being ready in your offhand. Of course, not using it like you would use a basket tilted parry dagger. Don't have it forward and crossing the shaft of the axe with the blade of your sword, because obviously you don't have a basket tilt and your hand is a very is in danger to become a target kind of quickly. So outside guard with the tomahawk being ready in your left hand, a little bit retracted, is a good way to start. What also works is this kind of guard McBain shows where you have the sword in a medium guard, the point of the blade forward, and the tomahawk a little bit about your eyebrow. Also the high guard, as we show it with a backsword and dagger, or the buckler. Yeah, that can work, but still, again, the tomahawk is not a classical parry weapon, so your hand is still vulnerable. So I would not do that, or if I do that, I would really, pull back or move the tomahawk and not keep it static. So what you have to keep in mind is similar when you have a dirk as an offhand weapon. It is not the perfect parry weapon, a tomahawk. It has some nice attributes you can use to your own advantage, but generally speaking, it was not made to be a parry weapon with a sword. So be careful and don't be too over enthusiastic to use it in combat. So situations where you can use it is when you, example, parry with your sword first, and then you might have the chance to use the tomahawk to hook away the weapon or the weapon arm, to block it, to trap it somehow, like you use your free hand, or how you would use a dirk as an offhand weapon, or how you would use a targe to suppress any counters by your opponent. So this is a way that can work. Another thing which can work is that you use it against thrust like a parry dagger, because then your hand is not so in danger to be cut, so you can just slap or push away the incoming attack with kind of an inside half hanger or something like that, and then you go with your cutlass for the counter. you can also use the abilities, the hooking abilities of the Tomahawk to get even more control and to clear the space even better. Of course, when you have an offhand weapon like a Tomahawk, you can always throw it. It is a legit option to, just clear the space, to maybe, distract or injure, or even kill one opponent, and then having time for the second opponent. So it's always an option to throw the Tomahawk, of course, but again, you should train throwing a Tomahawk to do this with some effect and being effective with that. Of course, there can happen situations where you can use your sword to parry the attack and then use the Tomahawk to go in with a thrust, in example, that can work quite nice, or also with some kind of cut to cut the leg or the ribs or whatever. Of course, you can also hold the Tomahawk in the half choke or in the full choke, and then you use it more like a dirk, so like an emergency, like an emergency shield to cover your head. And then, of course, you can use the axe head if you come to close quarters. Instead of grappling and trapping, you use this to punch your opponent into the face, which is, of course, quite effective with an axe head. As we show in these examples, this works, of course, against kind of an opponent armed with a single sword, like a spadroon or saber or broadsword. It can also work against pole arms, like a boarding pike or musket and bayonet. And there again, you try to use the Tomahawk to get control. So you parry with your sword, you get the bind or take over the bind with the Tomahawk, maybe hook and push it away out of line, so you have a free move for your main weapon to do the cut or thrust. Against the high thrust, you can do kind of an inside half hanging guard, so or high hanging guard to your inside, and then you use the Tomahawk to get hold of the blade, or when you fight against the polearm, of the shaft of your opponent, and then you can pull it away and have again a free way for your sword to cut or to thrust. Okay, let's jump into the sparring footage, and thanks again to all of you for your support. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I make something new for your Patreons as soon as I can. So stay safe and enjoy, and let me know what you think in the comments down below.